So I want to welcome everybody today to the Bringing Hope question and answer time. This is something we've been planning to do for some time, and because there's been a number of different questions and clarity that many people have been asking. And we thought now was the right time to do this. And we're going to being asked a series of questions, and then we're going to give a series of answers. So just to start, my name is Reverend Robin Thompson, and I'm one of the founding directors of Bringing Hope. And my party, colleague, friend, big brother, Carver, introduce yourself, and then we'll get on to the questions.
Right, thank you, my dear brother Robin. My name is Reverend Dr. Carver Anderson, also a founding member of Bringing Hope. And I'm excited about this opportunity just to share our hearts with you and answer some of the questions. So, my brother Robin, back over to you, my friend.
Okay, then. So, one of the first questions always asked is, how did Bringing Hope start? So Bringing Hope started many years ago, back in 1991, when I first came to my Christian faith, and I was impacted by the issues that were facing my community where I'd come from, as coming off the road, the street, all of that. And Bringing Hope started through being envisioned by God to do something as an alternative to what was existing then and now, and being that bridge between church and community, and actually being very practical in what we do and support. So the vision of Bringing Hope came out of that, out of a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, and a lot of stuff that was happening back then, and sadly still today we're facing now. So that's how Bringing Hope started.
And I think it's important to add to that we started with a number of groups together as a consortium, meaning the City Council was involved, the Council of Black-led Churches was involved, and also the Birmingham churches together involved, as a starter, as a consortium to respond. In fact, it's interesting because this is our initial conference toolkit. So that's how we came together with a number of other organizations. So, Robin?
Yeah, and out of that, the journey of Bringing Hope began in 2004, and 2008, we decided to move from a consortium to become a registered charity. And by God's grace, we're still here doing the work we're doing from 2008 until now. So, second question.
So what does a faith-based operational organization mean? Yes, we're a Christian-based charity. It's important to say that. We are firmly rooted in the thoughts and thinking of being Christians. However, it's important. We are not here to proselytize. So we're not here to seek people to become Christian. So whether one is a Christian or non-Christian, you could be an atheist, you could be someone who has no faith whatsoever. As an organization, we believe that we're here to support you emotionally, psychologically, and because of the spiritual aspect, we believe we can meet those needs as well, whether one's in prison, in community, associated with the police, with criminality, with violence. We're saying you don't have to be a Christian to get our services as an organization. So faith-based means we use the tenets of a theology of love, care, compassion, honesty, forgiveness, integrity, humility. I could go on. So faith-based relates to that.
And Carver, can I just add that the fundamental principle of Bringing Hope is we believe everyone deserves a second chance.
Absolutely.
Now, the life I'm coming from, I was given a second chance. And that's the fundamental DNA of bringing hope, that we believe everybody deserves a second chance.
Absolutely so, Robin.
So one of the key questions always is leveled at us is, how do we acquire our funding for the organization, and how do we allocate it? How do we manage it? So I'll answer that to start with, and I'm sure Carver will interject as well. We, over the years, have been able to apply for what they call charity grants. We've survived through going to donations and people donating. And more recently, we've applied to get contractual services like any other charity does to deliver specific project-based services. So over the years of being here, we've been able to function in an autonomous way, but in a respectful way, to actually ensure that the resource comes in, it's specific to do specific tasks. So it can be public, private, and voluntary sector resources that come to us, just like any other charity. And one of the other things is people ask, well, how do you manage it? As a charity registered in the United Kingdom, every charity has to submit its annual accounts, which has to be independently scrutinized and verified. And then that goes on to the Charity Commission so that it's open, it's transparent in what we do receive, where it comes from, and what we do with it. And that's how Bringing Hope functions currently as a charity.
I think what is important, Robin, is to say that it is very, very challenging to sometimes put a bid together. It may take us weeks to put a bid together to look at what is the evidence that this service is needed. So it's very painstaking to apply for funds. So we're in competition all the time with other organizations and charities regarding getting funding. It's important to say that it's not just and it's done. We have to really be strategic in our aim to acquire funds for the organization.
And you know what, Carv, you've just triggered another thing, which is that everything that is received has to be accounted for. We have to give evidence of the work that we do. And if the evidence isn't good enough for those who have commissioned us, they have the right to challenge us and also the right to take back the resource. Now, today, that's never happened because we never promise what we can't deliver. We stay in our lane and we try our best to do what we do best, to bring hope and second chance.
So then, how does my personal life, Robin's personal life, or experience qualify us to do this work? Now, as I said, a faith-based charity, but not everyone may be holding faith that we engage with, as I've said before. I am not a person that's just come as a Christian. I've come from a particular background that I've seen stuff, I've heard stuff, I've been involved in things myself. It is through my faith why I've changed. So I believe that I don't judge anybody. It's important for us to say we're not a judgmental organization. We seek to engage with whoever, whether one was a perpetrator of violence or even the victim, we will engage with them. If someone has been involved in peer associated violence, we engage with them. So we have the experience. The members of our staff now are people with lived experiences. So we are not naive to the challenges that we presently face. So how does it qualify me? Is because I'm a person that's come from a lived experience background that understand the nuances of what the men and the women and the families that we work with would be experiencing. So that's what I'd like to say. Robert, what about you?
You know, for me, Carv, I come from a lived experience. I was excluded from school by the age of 10. No school in Birmingham Secondary School wanted me at the age of 11. So back in them days, and I'm great now and a bit more wise, they tell me, we didn't have pupil referral units. We didn't have them kind of functionalities. So that lived experience, not knowing at the time, is what informs us now and informs me. So what has qualified me? Yes, I have a master's in business. That's wonderful, Carver. You've got a PhD in theology and social science, and you're a qualified social worker. So we've had to continually challenge ourselves to develop and use our lived experience to now inform what we do. So for me, Thompson, it's literally that lived experience is what drives me through the expression of my faith and my love for people, and love to see people change, and also to look in the eyes of society and say, who says that nothing good not come out of the ghetto? Who gives them that right? Everything comes out of that space, good, bad, and indifferent. And I was good, I was bad, and I was indifferent. So I advocate second chance through that lived experience. So I'm very passionate about that indeed. Very
so,
passionate.
so what do we do on a day-to-day basis? And that's the question. What does Robin, myself, and the team do on a day-to-day basis? It's important to know that we are a family-orientated organization. So we're always thinking about the welfare, the well-being of families, whatever the issues are. So sometimes we're in prisons. Before COVID-19, we were regularly in prisons. I won't exactly say which prisons, but we're involved with men in prisons. So we would talk to them, we would work with them, we would have running courses in prisons. Then we would be meeting people, families on the outside. We'd be meeting men who are saying, you know what, I can't cope anymore because I feel that my head is popping. I've got no job, I've got a criminal record, and I'm not getting a second chance. So we'll be working with them. We'll be dealing with business people, we'll be dealing with employment agencies, we'll be dealing with housing. So on a day-to-day basis, we are working to ensure that the welfare, the well-being of the people we're working with are catered for. And believe me, some of these cases are complex. I repeat, complex. But you know what? We are a solution-focused organization. So we always believe there's a solution.
You know, Gav, you've mentioned that. And I just want to add as well that we have to work in a multidisciplinary way. So every morning when Robin gets up, it can be a different challenge that will face us. We may have to talk to social services, then talk to a businessman, then talk to an employment trainer. Whatever is required to get that solution, that's what the day can unfold. And the team who we are working with and our team members, every day we will be in conversation, looking at what can we do best for that individual who's on a trajectory of change, meaning that they've decided to change. Because the key here is that an individual decides, I've had enough and I want to change. And I think the only other thing I'd add to that, Carv, is there are sometimes a perception that bringing hope may control stuff and influence stuff. We don't. Wherever we're given that door to open, we advocate on everyone's behalf. And that can be on a daily basis, a weekly basis, whoever we have to talk to. We're like that critical friend. And that's to challenge ourselves and the people around us and the institutions to do better. Because I always say, if you know better, do better.
Can I just add something there? Now, given what's happening presently with Black Lives Matters, and I know that we may talk about that later on, but we take time to advocate for men, women who have been oppressed by the system. So we would be involved in meetings on a day-to-day basis and conversation that seeks to challenge institutional oppression or racism. So we will not collude with systems. If we were going to get funding to be colluders, we would rather not have the fund and be advocates for the welfare and the well-being of those people we're working with. That's all I wanted to add to that, Robin.
Yeah, and that's true, Garv, because we've learned to be mean and lean. And what I mean by that is sometimes you can grab something knowing that you're going to collude, and we say, no, we're not going to do that. We have principles. So, another question that's come in, and we thank the questions that have been fielded by the team by talking to different people, is how does the current situation of COVID-19, this pandemic, how has that impacted on our service delivery? Now, it's important to say that we are both ministers of the cloth. And we also have a responsibility, sadly, to help families through some of the more horrific situations of the passing of a loved one. And COVID itself, we know it's impacted on the Bain community in particular in a very damaging way. So that's impacted us pastorally in the work that we do, but also in our service delivery, because we're not able, look at today, ideally, we would have loved to have done this interaction and interview with me and Carver in the same room, but Carver's in his house. You know your house, Carver?
I am indeed.
Yeah. And I'm in my house, but this is not my house at the background, but I've got too much things in the background I don't want to see. But the point is that it's impacted us that we can't have face-to-face contact at this time, but instead we have to use social media platforms, Teams, Zoom, and other interaction texts, phone calls to try and uplift each other and also the people that we work with.
And just adding to that, we're a creative team. I'm really empowered by my team members because we've even had to develop a platform with emailer prisoners. So we've got our own account that we can keep in touch with prisoners who may not have seen their families over this period of time. And COVID-19, you know, people have died. We've buried people during this pandemic. Robin is buried and I've buried. In fact, last week we went and we buried someone. And it's difficult because usually funerals in our community, sometimes you have 1,000 people. This one had 16. So we're dealing with some real deep issues, and post COVID-19, when the lockdown diminishes, there'll be a lot of trauma for us to be picking up. So I just wanted to say that as an organization, we are mindful about how we continue to support those in COVID and post COVID.